Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Spiritual Infinity. And as you know, my name is Zenzi Sewa, and my guest today is Deanna Divine. And she does many things, but she's going to talk about that. But I'd like to introduce her as a multi-dimensional soul guide. And as I said, she does many things that are very interesting. But she's here today to talk about her journey, where she started, what made her come into this direction, and all the things now she's capable of doing, and her journey and all of our journey still continues. We don't come to it and then stop. It's a continual progress, a continual journey of growing. So without much ado, and Deanna is in New Jersey, and as you know, I'm in London. She's in America. So Deanna, welcome, and thank you for being here today.
And thank you so much for having me on. I'm really looking forward to this conversation and sharing my journey with your audience.
Yes, so I'm going to sit back and enjoy listening to your journey. So let's begin.
Yeah, so I actually written a whole book this year about my journey because I've been on this path for such a long time, and it was, something that culminated into like I need to share this. And so, Mastering Quantum Creation, Awaken the Phoenix Within, Manifest Your Reality, and Reclaim Your Cosmic Power is the book that got published this year, and now it just came on Amazon on audio format, so it's available on Audible to listen to. Because I know some people read, and I have a lot of beautiful images in the book, but some just want to listen to it. Like our comprehension is received differently, and it was actually really beautiful to narrate the book myself because I felt like I went through the journey again. It's so interesting every time, you go back into those moments and you're like, oh wow, yeah, that moment in time really was traumatic, but I received so much healing. So I actually wasn't born in the United States. I live in United States for the last 30 years. I was actually born in Soviet Union. So this is pre-1990, Eastern, Russia, Belarus. I'm actually from Belarus, from Minsk. And it was a very different environment. And as a kid, I was always very aware of my surrounding. I didn't necessarily know that I was awakened, but I was always perceiving people and environment, and I was very courageous soul. So I would say I was an old soul, right? Like ancient soul. And we put different labels, but like since young age, I traveled around the capital, like at the age of 6, 7. I did things that like now that I think about my kid who's 12, like if I were to let him go on the bus by himself, like even at this age, I wouldn't do that. So for me, yeah, in the first chapter of my book, I talk about my journey in 3 phases. And I think that might be resonating for a lot of the listeners. So in shamanic traditions, they also talk about these phases of transformations. And so it's the first phase is the scorpion, then the eagle, and then the phoenix. And it's interesting because we actually are in this Scorpio season. So it's very much what we're going through right now in the months of November. And the Scorpio is kind of that, that denser energy that usually the Scorpion is like on the bottom of the lake. He's like down in the darkness and the density. And then the eagle merges out more transformed and more empowered, but like seeing now the situation from higher perspective. That's kind of the power animal. And then the phoenix is that really powerful bird that's about rebirth and resurrection. It goes into the it transmutes and transforms. It becomes really powerful. And I'm the phoenix today, but I had to go through my years of the scorpion and the eagle to understand how to be a phoenix. And so when I lived in Soviet Union, there was a lot of that, gray streets, like things were happening. And really, I started feeling the scorpion density when we moved to Israel when I was at the age of 10. And it was a beautiful, Israel is such a beautiful place on earth. It's so ancient, right? But as we know, till today, it's the biggest area for conflict, right? There's so many ancient wars happening in the region. And for a reason, Jesus walked those lands. And funny enough, like I did not realize till many years later how blessed I was. I was living in the valley, Galilee, not right next to Nazareth. Actually, Nazareth was right outside of my window. I was facing those mountains. And so I really lived in that really sacred land as a teenager. But at the same time, as there was this beautiful land with a lot of freedom and beautiful fruits and agricultural, watermelons and all that, I started experiencing the scorpion density, and that came as a Gulf War. So we had all these, rockets flying over. I had to go to school with gas masks, and in the middle of the night, be woken up by the different alerts that had you go into the room, put the gas mask on. Mind you, I'm in a sixth grade, like my whole family huddled in the middle of the night, and we kind of listening to the radio and trying to figure out, are we allowed to take them off? Are we not allowed to take them off? Because everyone was afraid of this like bioweapons. And so started like really shifting within me, because in those moments of like sitting in this darkness with the mask on, you start kind of like feeling the chaos and yet like going more inward. And after the Gulf War in 1994, I experienced, I would say, my first really traumatic event that really I feel led me to the awakening where I am today. And so in 1994, there were no suicide bombings or terrorist bombings that we know of today. The bus bombings, like a norm in Israel after that. But in 1994, we haven't heard of that. And you have to understand, like, everything in Israel is so close to each other. Like, the territory is like 20 minutes away. My dad would work with the Palestinian workers. They were his friends. They were doing construction together. Everything was like, all in one place. So you didn't think that like you needed to protect yourself in any way. And so here I am, ninth grade, on this bus stop with my best friend, having this incredible day in April, having our ice cream, we skipped class, and we're just waiting for a bus to go to the suburbs we were on. And there were all these buses going to Nazareth, to the mountains, to all these areas. And then this voice within me started telling me to leave the area. It was like, you have to leave this bus stop. You have to cross the street. And then it started getting louder and louder. And I was like having conflict with it. And it got so loud that I listened because I could not listen. Something just pushed me out. I grabbed my friend, who was also very resistant, I'm confused, like, what's happening here? And we crossed the street and we turned the corner, and it was a huge boom. And we were so confused. We're like, what just happened? Maybe like, I don't know, plane fell down. Like, we didn't have a reference point. And what happened was, it was the first bus bombing in Afula. This is the town that I grew up in. And the voice, as I know today, is my higher self. Yeah.
Sorry for stopping you there. How old were you at the time?
14 years old.
You were 14, my gosh. And when you left Russia to go to live in Israel, how old were you?
10 years old.
Oh, okay. Please.
Yeah, sure. So these are like very formative years where you define who you are, right? And the environments define you. And that experience of bus bombing is what started this, I would say, questioning, internal questioning I started having about, what was that voice? What exactly happened? Who am I? Why was I saved, per se? And that led me to a lot of inner quests, and also other events that happened in Israel that were really dense. It's like that scorpion energy I was talking about, that I wanted to break free. I wanted to like open my wings and be the eagle. And I made a decision to come visit my grandparents at the age of 15 and a half. And I came to the United States and I stayed. I didn't go back. I also had to serve the army, and there was a lot of things. And then my transformation started unraveling as I was in the United States, really started later in college. And I actually went back to Israel, and I got my mom got into Reiki. So I
Mm.
had my first Reiki initiation when I went back to Israel when I was 20 years old. And yeah, since then I was on this journey of curiosity. I was a fearless soul. I was trying so many things, shamanic journeys, working with plant medicine, working with Reiki practitioners. But then I was kind of feeling Reiki wasn't enough for me. I needed more. So I was learning as much as I could. And there was always teachers that would come in my way. I feel like as you step on your journey, I mean, you in this, I would say, like a river, a flow of synchronicities. And as you surrender and you listening to that higher self, to that voice within, and you trust it, and you're in this beautiful dance between your ego and your divine will. So you're no longer in resistance, because many of us sometimes we resist that voice, that higher calling, that the heart knows, but we're like, but does this make sense? No, a lot of things don't make sense. But I've learned through time to follow things that don't make sense, and then find myself in these places around the world. And I traveled 3 times around the world, especially in my early 30s, exploring, like being in the jungle of Peru and Colombia, doing different plant medicine ceremonies, or, you know, making it all the way to New Zealand and Australia and experiencing things there. So every journey, like you said so beautifully, is not about the destination. It's really about coming back to yourself, and coming back to your heart, and realizing home is where your heart is. And because for me, for the longest time, I was like, what's my home? Where do I belong? What I want to do? Where I want to be? And more as I'm stepping into this path, and this is, I feel, the path of the Phoenix, where she is really stepping into understanding that I'm not just a light worker, right? I'm able to also be sort of a dark worker, meaning like I can see perspectives, the darkness, the light, and I can integrate and merge it all into this moment and now, moment of 0 point into the void, and I can embody all the truths, right? That Phoenix is much as creator as destroyer worlds. And sometimes we have to unpeel and destroy and release things that don't serve us anymore. All these layers, whether it's from childhood or whatever traumas, even that trauma I was mentioning, the bombing, like when I was writing about it, things started coming up. I thought I was completely healed from that, from what happened. And yet I felt still responsible for some way for what happened, even though I had nothing to do with it. But I was at that bus stop, and there were people that got killed, and there was a girl that, had severe burns, and so you're like, why me versus them? So it's what we're doing is we close in those moments in time, those traumas, because if we have them open, one of my favorite analogy is like, imagine you opening your screen and you have all these tabs when you go, browsing on your internet, like you have all these tabs open. And when you have many tabs open, what happens? They start kind of like you processing your computer in hard time keeping all of them open. So sometimes, you get that notification like you need to reboot, or something stalls and doesn't work anymore. And what happens when we have so many of these things open? They drain in our energy. They drain in our ability to be present here, because time is alive. So I've taken a lot of people on different, what I do is quantum healing. So I take them into past lives, into their future lives. And what we do is we resurface in these moments in time, and by looking at them again, we heal in them, and then we close in. So we close in all these tabs, and then when we close those tabs, our processing starts getting easier, and we're able to be more here in this moment and now. And that's really, I feel, that empowered, sovereign Phoenix that is burned through, and every time is coming into the next version of itself. So it's a journey that is not like we create one version and we stop. I believe we constantly doing that. There's new versions. Like the version that was like a year ago is not the same version of today. Sometimes even the version a month ago is not the same version that is today. And that's an incredible realization that we in this process, especially now.
Okay. Now, when you got to when you got to America with your grandparents at 15 and a half and you decided to stay, and then things just continued and progressed from there, and you started to ask yourself questions. What direction did you take? I know you said you started to was it talk to people? Were you asking? Who did you connect with that helped you along this journey?
Yeah, I mean, as a teenager, I think I was just learning how to be here. Like English was not my first or second. This was like already my third language. So I was adjusting to be here. I think my real spiritual journey of going deeper in inquiration was really in college, and it started with because when I came here to high school, I had to go to Jewish school, and to be honest, Judaism didn't resonate with me. I spoke the language, I could read the prayers, but I didn't feel the connection. I didn't feel that connection with the source, with God, or whatever they were preaching. I like the traditions, but I didn't feel my own connection. When I was in college, sophomore year, I took a course in Zen and Buddhism, and I had this incredible Japanese professor. I loved him dearly, and he started doing meditations on campus. And we also had this very cute tea ceremony, Japanese tea ceremony house. And his wife would come out in this gorgeous kimono and like had all her tea ceremony, like, the tea matcha utensils. And she would like whisk the tea, and you just sit in there and you're watching it. And it's just such incredible practice they have, because it's so precise. You have to be so disciplined and how they do it. Everything has order and intention. And as I started going to these tea ceremonies and doing these meditations, something started moving within me, because I think it was something about being really present, but also quieting your mind and really listening. And in the meditation, I started going and connecting more to that voice, to that higher self, and reestablishing that connection. So it's really in college, I feel, that where my journey really started. So that's when I was about 20 years old. And then I went to Israel, and then my mom was in Reiki, and that went into the whole Reiki journey. And so I had even a joke. I would call myself Jubu, which is Jewish by roots and Buddhist by wings. Because we want to value the traditions and roots of where we come from, but it's really our spirit, right? Like it's not defined by sometimes the religions that our culture supports, because they don't. The religion is limited. The essence of religious practices are beautiful, because they do try to bring us into the heart, into the love frequency. But sometimes it gets missed. Sometimes there's too many limitations. Although like I love like lighting the candles for Shabbat, like these little practices were great, or like disconnection from devices for one day. Imagine keeping that Sabbath, Saturday. There's something in it, because that also brings you into that quiet state. But there were other things. I didn't like their cultural way of talking about others, and how Jews are the only chosen people of God. And so it was very Buddhistic from my perspective, because I was all about equality and seeing everyone in this beautiful unity and unified field of consciousness. At the time, I didn't understand why it didn't resonate with me, why there was something off with the religious way of how the rabbis were teaching me. But now I understand, because I see everyone as equal, and I understand we all just experience in this earthly reality from a certain perspective. There is really no difference between us. We're all very much interconnected, and we're also interconnected with this beautiful planet we chose to be on. So, Buddhistic religion is much more encompassing of that.
In the Buddhist practice, it is seeing everybody as being connected to the whole, and we're all connected to the whole, and we're all part of the earth, the universe. And whenever we do anything, we have to respect. And when we do something to somebody, we're doing it to ourselves, because of that connection. So yes, I practice Buddhism, and that is what I liked about it, is that it brings you back that respect one another, because you disrespect somebody, you disrespect yourself. You hurt somebody, you hurt yourself. Be it an animal, a plant, it's about respecting the environment around you and everything, because we're all connected. So yeah, I understand thoroughly what you're saying with Buddhism. It's a very all encompassing thing. So
Yeah,
you went.
but I stepped out of that. Was just like a foundation, but I'm not practicing Buddhist today at all. I think just in college I needed that, but I feel for me, I don't really practice any religions. I some traditions, Jewish traditions for my kids, but my view is very spiritual. Like I think what I practice is more, some would say pagan in some ways, because it's earthly based, or like, full moons, or following the cycles of what's happening on earth, and these older traditions that really grounded here make
Mhm.
more sense. So I can choose. Like I feel we're not restricted to just
No,
one thing, right? We can do a
exactly.
little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's a mishmash soup of whatever feels right for you.
Exactly. Now, I introduced you as saying you're a multi-dimensional soul guide.
Mhm.
How did that come about?
Multidimensional soul guide, or some people call me galactic shaman. So yeah, so I was on this shamanic journey in my 20s and 30s, and I was studying with different shamanic, I would say, teachers, and also teaching a specific practice of dancing, where it's ecstatic dance, blindfolded, and that's a modality where you can also go deeper into the darkness, into the void, working with the plant medicines, with ayahuasca, as I mentioned, in the jungles, and mushroom medicine, other medicines that take you kind of into journeying deeper in the psyche, and very ritualistic and beautiful. It was actually interesting. Ayahuasca medicine was the one that's about a decade or so ago was saying, I think you're done. It was really interesting. It was a ceremony. It was like 50 people in Vermont. I was sitting by the shaman, kind of holding space. At that point, I've done a lot of experiences with her. And as I drank the medicine, it was just kind of shown to me. It's like, well, you did really great in learning everything here, your earthly stuff, and it's time to go to Galactic. And I was like, what's Galactic? Like I didn't quite understand. And I was like, okay. And so I listened to that, and I realized there's a moment of graduation. So as we evolve in our consciousness, and as we experience things, right, we come to this place where, I'm completed with this particular modality, with this learning, and there's something more. And so I need to stop and move on, and kind of like, we in the school of learning here. This is Earth is a school, and we move through grades. And she was very strong about me completing this. And then for a year, I wasn't doing anything. And then I had a beautiful experience. We were hiking in the mountains with my husband and our friends, and my friends started encouraging me to sing. And it was really interesting time, because my my throat was still very kind of repressed. I was very outspoken, but when it came to singing, I wasn't trusting my voice, and I felt like if I wasn't sounding good. There was all these negative beliefs many of us carry, especially women, from our bringing and from my Soviet times. Because when my parents took me to musical school or dance school, they kept on saying, oh, this girl doesn't have a rhythm. This girl doesn't have a voice. It was all this negative programming that were put into my consciousness, parents' consciousness. So I lived with all of that. So I had to release that or surrender a little bit. And so here we are in these mountains in upstate New York and Adirondack, really gorgeous area. And it's garnet hills. So I don't know if you're familiar with garnet, but it's like that red stone that's very
Yes.
grounding and really beautiful. And it was like all these rocks. It's almost like you're on another planet. It was just really gorgeous. And we sat down on the rocks, and our husbands walked away. And I just closed my eyes and I started humming. And as I was humming, I started seeing these incredible codes, like like golden light and geometries in my mind's eye. And they were kind of like talking to me, and I was saying, let us through, let us through, let us through. And then I surrendered. And it was such an incredible experience where it's almost like this energy took over me. And I started producing crazy harmonic tones, like an opera singer, very high, very low. Part of me was watching this experience. I wasn't even in control of it. And it was just happening. And I was like, whoa, I can do that? Like, I had no idea I could. And when I opened my eyes, it was very intense. My friend was smiling and crying. My husband, who heard this, feet away, he said his knees buckled. Something really magical happened. And so I realized, wow, there's something here, and I need to connect to this, and I need to pursue it deeper. And so I know what this is today, and this is what I teach, and I'm very passionate about. This is called light language, or I call it source language, and I have Source Language Institute. So we all speak certain languages, right? Right now, you're right. As you would speak English, or I speak Russian or Hebrew, whatever. But those are earthly languages. But there's also quantum language, language of the heart, of the soul, where we become channelers of this language. It's not something you learn with your mind. It's something you connect to and surrender to, and your soul, which is the software that has experienced many lifetimes on earth and off earth, comes into this heart, this body. And when you connect to it, it just opens the channel. It's your higher self expressing itself, and expressed in different languages. You start with the first for me, it's just started as toning, those sounds I was making. And then I started working with someone, and I got my first singing bowl, and I started the singing bowl and connecting deeper and going into this channel where you basically turn off your mind and you just kind of go deep into meditation, and you connect to this frequency, this voice, and you produce these sounds. And then that moved into actually speaking the language. And there's also movement, your hands. You can actually put it also on a piece of paper. So there's different codes. You can actually create paintings behind me, many of them from light language. And why I'm so passionate about it is because light language existed on earth always. And many spoke about it as speaking tongues, right? Speaking tongues, but it was almost like demonized during the whole, like, religious era, because in churches, they were like saying, oh, the devil is taking over the person, and now he's speaking tongues, but this tongue are kind of like something outside of him. But actually, it's very beautiful, divine phenomena. It's us expressing ourselves beyond the limitation of earth. It's very multidimensional and cosmic. And so I've been on this journey with light language, and like I said, connecting to the channels for the last 8 years. And in the process, as you keep on opening your channels, you connect other languages, become this multidimensional antenna of frequencies. And you start understanding more about quantum. What is quantum field of information? And quantum field of information is the field that has all the infinite possibilities, but it also the neosphere where it keeps all the records of the soul. So I started tapping deeper. Now I do Akashic readings, so I can read actually people's soul blueprint. And I started remembering my stuff. I started remembering my own past lives on Earth, and then it expanded into galactic lives and my whole journey in the galaxy and before even here. So that's the multidimensionality. Yeah.
Can I ask a question here? When these tunes, when these notes come through you, and you say it's a language, and therefore it must be a connection, what are they saying? I mean, when it comes to, can you understand something from it? Is it a communication from another source? And what is it that they're communicating?
Yeah. I mean, it depends. So if so yesterday, for instance, for level 11 portal, so I do a meditation and then I bring the languages in the, so it's a channeling. So now my channeling has expanded where initially it was just light language. And the key also is to understand not to translate it word to word, because you can translate word to word. You can't take multidimensional quantum packets and limit them to our language. So usually I try to bring in the theme of what I am seeing it's being said. Sometimes it's an activation, sometimes it's a dialogue. So a lot of it is like energy. It's all about intention. What is it for? Sometimes it's for the group. What it does incredibly is activate in DNA. It goes right into the tissue because it's codes information. So they hit your blueprint, and then each person resonates differently with it. So especially during meditation, yesterday, for instance, it was about the portal. So it was about activating DNA, activating the Merkaba. So they usually means different frequencies, because now when I do transmissions, I call them, I speak many different languages and I know what languages are they. And when they come in, I can identify, I can feel that that language wants to come in. And sometimes it's related to what is being expressed. I'll give you an example. So there's different star systems, and each star system where we came from has its own qualities. So my original star system, I'm a Lyran, which is like in the movie Avatar, you know, these fleeing large beings. That is where humanoid experience in this galaxy started, in Lyra. Many of us actually Lyrans. And then because of the galactic wars, we ended up migrating to other systems before we came to Earth. So maybe many of us actually recognize the Lyran language, and it's very much about the heart, just like Pleiadians. Pleiadians are cousins of Lyrans, or more, I would say we're Lyrans and the ancestors of Pleiadian. So it's very heart based. So if I'm doing a heart activation, so I'm doing Lara tushturkundaya kianur tushtiarakianu arikiatu urutumai. So Lyran is all about the heart, expanding the field. And then if it's more, let's say, brain circuitry based, activated pineal gland, usually other beings like from Arcturus, who are very technological and much higher dimensionality, come in. And so their language is usually faster. So it's like, so codes are faster and what they're doing is different. And so, and as my Lyran came in, the other language that came in at the same time was Draco, which is, you know, draconian beings. And it's much, Lyran is so beautiful and melodic. The Draco language was very harsh. If it's like in Star Trek, I don't know if you watch Star Trek, the Klingon. So it's like, and my, like, I remember in the beginning, my throat was like, oh my God, like, how can I even say that? It's hurting me. But today I can see what it does. It's really good in clearing the throat, clearing the field, clearing distortions, because it's such a, I would say, strong and harsh language. It has its place. So that's just a little bit of a preview of like my transmissions, depending on what's happening for the group, or if I'm doing one-on-one healing, if we're clearing certain chakras, you know, different languages we come in to do that work. Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is interesting. So let me just recap on that. So what you're saying, with each, we belong to a star system, okay, and each one has different things going on. So depending on what is needed, you'll say each star system generally carries a specific vibration. One star system, as you say, will be for the heart. They're all about the heart, and they've probably evolved in that way, and they've known how to use the heart. Another star system will be about the brain, and they're more attuned and averse to how the brain works, how we use the brain and the facilities of the brain, and therefore that's their speciality. And then each one has, so am I right in saying as a human being, we've got the heart, we've got the brain, we've got the lungs, we've got the spleen. So am I right in thinking that there are star systems that particularly specialize in their field, like with the liver or with the kidney or with the spleen? And am I right in saying that?
I would say so much the organs, more like the chakra system. So you close enough. So, like if you think about the chakra system, right?
You've
So
got
if we start from the root,
the
the root is kind of the lowest dimension for us, right? The red, but it's also about the ego, right? It's about materialism. It's how to be here and be stable. If I were to look in the galaxy of all the star systems that we came from, Orion would be the root for me, because Orion system is where there was a lot of conflicts with the ego. There was a lot of Orion wars, where it was like, think of the movie Star Wars, and
yes,
think of the movie. Remember the favorite in Tatooine, that cantina
yes,
scene? You walk in and so many beings. That's Orion. That's literally Orion, like the way I see it. And so there's a lot of conflicts, right? And there's a lot of duality playing out. That's about the root, like, foundation. So yes, there are certain kind of, I would say, qualities and frequencies and energies that are more connected to that star system. And so when I read, for instance, someone's Akashic records, I read their also aura field. I read their chakras, and based on what colors I'm seeing that are more prominent, or what the soul stream is showing, then I know, oh, this person is from this system, this system, this system. Because remember, the soul has traveled. It just usually didn't just stay in one system. Usually there's a couple of systems it experienced before coming on earth. And so, and there's some, yes, they're more prominent. So if I see more red, and then I see maybe more blue. Blue is like more green, blue Pleiadian, right? So I could then tap into that, and that's more like the throat, the heart, and see what really happened, and kind of go deeper into it. Yeah. So I think you got that, and I'm sure the organs are also connected to that, because the organs are where the chakra systems are, right? So they are related. Yeah.
okay. So yeah, so in that intergalactical side, and as you say, we've lived more than one life, and we've not necessarily lived them on this earth plane. So these different energies can come in to help us to navigate or to grow, to expand, and to correct those things within us. And these are where the intergalactic can help us with. Okay,
Correct.
interesting.
Yeah. And there's so many intergalactic involvement right now with us, because we are in that really interesting influx point going, that's in evolution of consciousness, personal and collective. And as you can
Yes,
see, like the solar activity that's happening, the comet, all those
yes,
things that are like in the galaxy that are happening, but here on Earth as well.
yeah.
And
It's
and it,
it's
and
happening all over
they're all
actually.
here. They're all here. Yeah, there's so many. We can't see them with our spectrum of our eyes, because our eyes are limited. But there's so many beings, and your star family, whoever is listening to this, they're around you. They're with you. You just need to open your field to connect with them. So a lot of it is about you asking for help. So when we think of guides, we think just angels, but no, there's many star beings that in your field as well that are here to interact with you. Everyone talks about open contact, and that's nice. Maybe at some point we'll be ready for it. Maybe it's coming in the next 5 years, as everyone says. But for me, open contact already has been happening, because I interact with different beings, and some say they are your guides. Sometimes no. I intentionally, in my meditations, I go to different planes. Everything is really available for us, because we forget that we are of the stars. This human body is composed of all these star systems. We have over 25 gene codes of these different star systems. So if it's all within us, the universe, the galaxy is within us, and we just have to allow to access it. Yeah.
Well, just as I said when and I said to you, our whole being, and they're
Mhm.
connected. So we are part of the star system, and it's all within us. Because if one can come and understand this, another one can understand the heart, another one who's got the sacral, and you've got the heart, and they've got the solar plexus, you've got the third eye, and they're all. So we're made up of the star systems. So obviously there's a lot going on around there, and it's we're not just who we think we are, and we are here to evolve into that section, because if you look at Atlantis and things that happened from time immemorial, and it's coming kind of full circle and evolving again, this time for us to understand it and use it wisely. Deanna, this has been very interesting. Now, you said you've written books, you're multidimensional, you've done so many things. Please let us know what you're doing, how people can connect with you, if you've got email, whatever you're doing, because people are listening, and some people say, I want to know more, I want to connect. So
Yeah,
please
thank you. Yeah. So my book is Mastering Quantum Creation, Awaken the Phoenix Within, Manifest Your Reality, Reclaim Your Cosmic Power. It's available on Amazon. You can go on my website, dianadivine.com, or spell dianadivine.com, and all the information is there. I also would love to open from my Oracle deck. So as the book came, I also had all these cards that came with the book. So let's open the card for your audience and see what the message is. I would love that to do that. Oh, beautiful. So we got the card of Temple of Integrity. So you have this girl walking up the steps, and the message is, walk in the steps of light. Your integrity is the structure of your energetic temple. Let each step, word, and choice honor the divine within you. And I think the message is kind of what we're talking about, is reclaiming our multidimensional self, but also remembering our life on earth right now in this present moment really matters. And it's on us to live it in the most integrous, beautiful way and reconnect to who we are. Yeah, so on the dianadivine.com, all the information is there. I also have a podcast called Soul Communication. And we have this beautiful summit coming up next week, Reclaim Cosmic Power. So I have a lot of beautiful speakers that are in the space to talk about galactic history and a lot of concepts you and I were talking. This mini rabbit holes, right? You can go into. We just like scratch the surface, and if there's something that like resonates and something that doesn't make sense for you, that's okay, because remember, you're only ready for certain things in this moment, but later on it's, will just kind of sink in. And that's why my book has so much information. I kind of take you through my own journey, but I cover so much, from DNA to sacred geometry to Kundalini activation to light language I was talking about today, and how to manifest. Like, what does it mean to be a quantum creator? And so I'm here to re-empower everyone to have others step into their power. And I'm sure you'll put in my Instagram. So I post all the time, different events that I'm doing, many online summits, and yeah, just I'm here to share the love and the frequency of remembrance.
Oh, and thank you. That last thing, the frequency of remembrance, because everything is within us, and what it's all about is just for us to remember.
Exactly.
For us to remember, because everything is there. We don't need to look outwards. Everything is within us. And if we take the time just to be silent and still, give that portion of time and go within and practice that, a lot of things will come up that's been buried, and it can make us understand ourselves more and to be our authentic self. Deanna, before I say thank you and goodbye, can you leave us with some gold nugget of advice that you believe can help us? You've done that card, which is good. Yourself, what can you leave our audience? Something that will resonate with them, that will help them along their journey.
Yeah, I think in today's world, there's so much noise out there. There's a lot of information, and sometimes we get overwhelmed, right? Like, what do I follow? What I don't follow? So when you feel that overwhelmness, or you feel resistance, or you feel you're ungrounded because of all these cosmic activity that's happening, I really recommend to start your day with a practice. So whatever you do, whether it's meditation or just a moment of taking a few breaths, give yourself 5-10 minutes to start your day with an intention. start your day with gratitude. Like, what am I here to do? What am I here to create and manifest? And maybe, go outside, hug a tree, just sit, walk around. Like, take that moment to just start your day where you are away from your iPhone, from your devices, and you just one with yourself and with nature. And I feel practice promotes presence. So we sometimes think these things just like on a journey, they just come and go. So we're very reactionary versus if we can have consistency and we have a practice that we do on a daily basis and we know it works and you can modify, you don't have to stick to the same thing. Then what you do and you build in a spiritual muscle, you know how to come back into alignment and into your center. And I believe as quantum beings, as quantum creators, as we were just talking through this whole podcast, we have everything, but we have to be centered. We have to be grounded. We have to be in alignment to really connect to it, to hear it, to receive it, to contemplate. So find your practice and really work with the sun. Like there's so much solar activity coming in. I love going out at 8 a.m. It's harder in the winter, of course, but if there's sun outside, just stand there and just close your eyes and just soak it in. Do your deep breaths in, connect to your heart, and just really be grateful for the day you're about to have. And just see how it unravels. Like it's just incredible. When you start like that, miracles happen. Like just believe in miracles. You just don't know how it's gonna go. And change any pattern. Sometimes, go to work on the same path, like drive the same way, or start taking new paths, like break your patterns. The more you start breaking the patterns, you'll start noticing the synchronicity happens, that miracles frequency that I was talking about, and with your intentions, like anything and everything is possible.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, miracles do happen, and it is down to us because everything is within and it's for us to be aware. So to everybody, thank you today for tuning in. Thank you, Deanna, for all that you said to us. I will put everything on the write-up. For those of you, if Deanna has resonated by her book, listen to her podcast, you know how to connect with her. And until the next time, bye everyone. And thank you, Deanna, once more.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye. Many blessings.